Hey guys, JP Stevens here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing my top aftermarket upgrades for the Can-Am Outlander XMR 850. Before we get into this video, I just want to give a huge thanks to FINNTRAIL for giving me the opportunity to make this video for you guys. So before we get into my top aftermarket upgrades, first let's talk about why I chose the Can-Am Outlander XMR 850. And the reasons why I went with this ATV is because of the outstanding power the 850 V-twin engine offers. I feel that the 850 engine is very close in comparison to the 1000R. I really don't think you're losing much power when you go down to the 850, and after riding mine for as long as I have, I was never not pleased with the amount of power that it had. One reason I went with the Outlander instead of the Renegade is because of the great fender coverage. The other reasons that I got this machine is because it comes with a winch already, power steering, and then the two main upgrades that come with the XMR package, the snorkel system and the radiator relocate. Also, a huge factor that played into me getting this machine was the great price point for what all this ATV comes with. At the time, whenever I bought mine, the price point was at $11,999 USD. Now that we've discussed why I chose the Can-Am Outlander XMR 850, let's talk about my top aftermarket upgrades that I've done. One of the first upgrades I did was change out the stock airbox seal for the Outsiders Mud Crew. Airbox seal is what I'm pretty sure it's called. Pretty much everyone told me to change out the stock airbox seal whenever I got the machine. Supposedly the stock one is too thin, and over time will let water in. And so just to be safe, I did do it, and it's a pretty cheap upgrade, so I recommend doing it to yours also, just to be safe. The second upgrade on my list that I highly recommend doing is changing out the tires. The Outlander XMR 850 comes stock with 30-inch cryptids that unfortunately measure true to about 28 inches, so they run pretty short. They aren't a terrible tire, but there are a lot of other tires out there that perform a lot better, so I highly recommend getting a set of true 30-inch mud tires that are a lot more aggressive also if you're planning on doing extreme mud riding, because those cryptids do not cut it in my opinion. My third top upgrade that I have on my ATV is a slip-on exhaust. I recommend taking off the stock exhaust and putting on an aftermarket. The exhaust just opens up your ATV so much, in my opinion. The cheaper the better also for the exhaust on the Can-Am. It's just because it's almost impossible to make the Can-Am sound bad. And then paired up with the exhaust, we'll be moving on to the next upgrade that I recommend. I unfortunately got my ECU flashed to go with the exhaust by a mechanic, but I recommend getting a programmer or an optimizer, and I recommend getting the same brand programmer as your exhaust. And the last upgrade that I have on my list is high clearance floorboards. I do have them on my ATV to let me clear the 32-inch Aztecs. So if you're really wanting to run larger tires, it is a great upgrade. But if you're okay with sticking with 30s, then I do recommend just sticking with 30s and keeping your stock floorboards, because the aftermarket floorboards will mess up your fenders a little bit. They at least, mess my fenders up some. So I will warn you guys about that. I just feel like the aftermarket fenders don't fit anywhere near as well as the stock fenders that come on the machine. Now that we've discussed everything that I've upgraded, what else can you upgrade? The clutching can be upgraded to allow you to get your tires spinning a lot faster, and to help you spin larger or heavier tires. You can actually upgrade your primary and secondary clutch, but the primary clutch is the one that you really have to worry about getting done first. Upgrading your clutching is a great idea. It takes a lot of stress off of your belt and gives you a lot better power engagement. Another great upgrade that is highly recommended, especially if you like to go deep, is snorkel risers. A lot of different companies make snorkel risers, or you could just make a set yourself if you're knowledgeable on things like that. But snorkel risers do exactly what they say in the name. They make your snorkels higher, so you don't have to worry as much about sinking your machine. It is a great upgrade and can do a lot in keeping your machine alive while playing in the deep stuff. All right, now we've talked about all of the upgrades that I recommend. Let's talk about maintenance and riding tips. The Can-Am Outlander XMR 850 is a high performance ATV that has a lot of power. Just a lot is going on in general, and so what that means is that this machine requires a lot of maintenance also. If you ride often, I really do recommend getting a full maintenance done at least every 2 months. And then I also recommend changing out your rear diff fluid as often as possible if you water ride a lot, because it's really hard to keep water out of that rear differential, and just changing it often can really save you from having to buy a new diff. The best riding tip that I can give you guys is just listen to the machine. If the ATV feels like it's struggling some, then just kind of let off the throttle and let it, you know, kind of get its bearings back. Let that belt just sit there and chill for a second, and then, you know, maybe even if you have to blip the throttle, if you get to where the tires just don't want to spin in some really thick stuff, know when to hold the throttle wide open and when not to. If there's a lot of resistance happening, you know, while you're in the hole, then don't just hold the throttle wide open, because that's how belts break and et cetera, you know, it's just how bad things happen. So that's just the thing that I feel like makes a huge difference when it comes to braking parts, and especially, you know, smoking belts. And yeah, you guys, that is it. I have covered everything I need to discuss with you guys. Hopefully this video helps you choose what aftermarket upgrades you want to put on your Can-Am Outlander. Again, I want to give a huge thanks to FINNTRAIL for giving me the opportunity to make this video for you guys, and I will see you on the next one.